John F. Kennedy Jr. spent the final years of his life trying, with only mixed results, to turn the magazine he founded into a publishing success. Now, less than 2 years after his death, George magazine is folding this month. Its final issue a tribute to a man whose very life embodied the worlds of celebrity and politics, which George tried to meld. He was JFK's son, America's son. With a touch of pride, nostalgia, and perhaps a little envy, we watched him grow, could not get enough of this glamorous link to Camelot. And so it was only natural that many people were rooting for John F. Kennedy Jr. when in 1995 he dressed up model Cindy Crawford for the cover of his splashy new political magazine.
It's George, as in Washington.
The day he launched the magazine, it was a media horde like I have never seen. The president and the Pope together didn't draw as many cameras as John Kennedy did standing alone. That's an awful lot of pressure to put on a guy. And he was great.
He seemed to bear it all with ease, but George, from the outset, was an odd hybrid. Politics meets celebrity, an unwieldy mix of serious journalism and frivolity, which critics lambasted.
People in Washington, thought this was crazy. Come on, you can't do a political magazine that puts celebrities on the cover.
But Richard Blow, George's executive editor under Kennedy, says that's exactly what his boss wanted.
I think from John's point of view, the question was, how do you harness the power of celebrity to get people interested in American politics? Because right now, they're not.
And Kennedy wasn't shy at times about trading on his own celebrity, posing nude in the September 1997 issue, in which he famously derided his cousins, Joseph and Michael, as poster boys for bad behavior.
Before he started the magazine, though, his uncle, Senator Kennedy, said to him, if we're still speaking to you at Thanksgiving dinner, you're probably not doing it right.
But strained family ties were the least of his problems. Kennedy's hip magazine wasn't selling.
I hate to say it, but the truth needs to be said. It was a somewhat amateurish operation, editorially. And it wasn't selling ads because those media buyers at the ad agencies were looking at this magazine and going, who wants this?
In the summer of 1999, Kennedy was already struggling just to keep George viable. And then, tragedy struck.
Grim news at first. The story is that John F. Kennedy Jr. was supposed to leave New Jersey last night to attend a family wedding on Martha's Vineyard. His private plane apparently is missing.
As the nation mourned and a special tribute issue of George flew off newsstands, the magazine's staff struggled with their own grief and pondered what to do next.
I thought that he would have wanted the magazine to keep going.
And so it did, but in a move that angered many of the old hands, a new magazine emerged, retooled by some of George's fiercest critics.
What we tried to do was do the magazine that John had wanted to do, but do it much better. Do it really well, and do it with a high quality of journalism standards.
But to many Kennedy loyalists, George had died with John.
I certainly felt that they had strayed from what John wanted. I think that they made the magazine more cynical, in many ways really more stupid than it should be.
And so, with circulation up modestly but advertising revenues flagging, the magazine's owners decided to shut it down. When you learned that George was going to cease operations, what went through your mind?
It brought back a lot of memories, a lot of difficult memories. In a little way, it was like reliving that death that weekend when John died. You had John's death, and then this is his legacy. And I know all of us stayed there in the months afterward and did everything we could to try to ensure that that legacy would continue. For a short time, we succeeded in that, and I think everyone should be proud of that. But, we didn't succeed in the end, and that's very hard.
For all its flaws, Kennedy's magazine was like a touchstone to the boy we knew so well, to the man he had become, to the void left behind.
It failed, but it was a noble failure.
He used to say, we're about more than selling magazines and selling advertising. We're about trying to sell being involved in public service. And I think in that way he was carrying on what his father was trying to do. He just did it in a different way.
I think that people will look at George and say, you know, this was emblematic of the spirit of a man who believed in, who was a patriot. And that's not a bad thing to remember John as.
The farewell issue of George is on newsstands now. And we're back with more after this.